it mean to be here for God?
Did you say there is no such thing as faith?
Faith.
Faith or faith? F-A-I-T-H?
No, it's S-P-A-C-E. That's time and...
Or space.
Yes.
I see. So there is no such thing as space and time, and what is the question?
If a person can't express reality, and there's no such thing as faith,
Yeah.
then what does it mean for us to be here for God?
Uh-huh. Well, when we speak of being here, that is not neither spatial nor temporal. It is referring to being in this world according to certain principles and values. The idea doesn't refer to space nor to time, but mode of being in the world. You know, we are in this world, seemingly, but not of it. Now, what a person is an illusion. It is what we pretend to be to ourselves and to others. What a person can do is conduct himself according to moral values, moral principles, and spiritual values. And this way seeks to conform to divine reality. And in proportion that he lives by these values and expresses spiritual qualities, in that proportion, he is prospering because he is minimizing his conflict with reality. Is this clear to you?
Beginning to get a hold of.
Yeah.
A person could do that for most of their human life and never know that they're not a person.
That's right. That's right. Now, you know that there are more harmonious personalities, so-called persons, and very discordant persons. So, just like there are good dreams and there are bad dreams, and there are dreams which more approximate the value system of the Christ, and there are dreams which are not in harmony with the Christly values. So whenever we speak of persons, we have to understand we are speaking of a universal condition of dreaming. Dreaming that life is material and it takes place in a material container which is called the body.
In those dreams that are more in line with spiritual value, the essence of it seems to be that they're still using the values to make their life better.
Yes, you can say that, surely. Surely.
It's necessary to make the transition.
What is necessary to make the transition? Well, you see, most of religions and also so-called spiritual movements essentially boil down to a search to improve the dream of life in the material world. We are all struggling, those of us who are suffering in this world are struggling to improve our experience. So we would like to exchange a bad dream for a better dream. You see, physical illness is a bad dream. Physical health is a better dream. And when someone is ill, he wants to be healed as a person, and he wants to improve his dream of life in the material world. Now, enlightenment is of a different order. Enlightenment is an awareness of the fact that the physical existence is a dream, and that the reality and the real substance of all things is non-dimensional, spiritual, that we are actually spiritual beings, but we have the illusion of living in a material world and being material ourselves, and are subject to material conditions of health and illness. So, yes, Michael, were you asking something?
It just occurred to me in the Hawaii conference, there was a statement made that the person doesn't become peaceful or assured or grateful and loving, but that those qualities are, and we become aware of it. What is spiritual gratitude?
Spiritual gratitude?
Yes.
Well, spiritual gratitude is the acknowledgement of a fundamental quality of God, which is goodness. Personal gratitude is mostly oriented towards other persons. We are grateful if somebody is kind to us or generous. As persons, we are grateful to other persons. As spiritual beings, we acknowledge the good of God. So you could say that's what spiritual gratitude is. The law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus makes us free of the law of sin and death. Do you understand this passage?
No.
Would you like to?
Yes.
It points to an entirely different dimension of consciousness. Enlightened man lives and moves and has his being in Christ, or divine reality. He is the living soul, hid with Christ in God. And this realization makes it possible for him to transcend the law of sin and death, which means the law of material existence, of suffering and dying. If you have read Claudette's article in the latest newsletter about consciousness, have you read it?
Claudette's article?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Well, she describes that there are 3 levels of being: animal level, human level, a spiritual level. On the animal level, we are totally ignorant, and we are just reacting to stimuli. On the human level, we are under the illusion of having a personal mind, and we are endeavoring to use this mind in a calculative way to cope with other human beings who are also calculative and scheming and imagining themselves to have personal mind power. So there are animal people, so to speak, there are human people, and there are spiritual beings who are living according to the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus. They are not calculative people, they are responsive, compassionate, inspired, individual manifestations of divine love intelligence. Which one will you pick, Michael?
When I grow up, I want to be a seeker.
Yeah. Well, I think you are already a seeker. You have, you have been healed of intellectualism. I think so.
The first two levels are the mood-free levels that the substance is invalid thought.
Right, right. It's the law of sin and death.
Dr. Hora, this is Tim.
Who is it?
Tim Ryan.
Tim, yes. Hi, Tim. Congratulations, Tim.
Thank you very much. Fine, healthy boy and attitude for love.
Yeah, thank you.
By and large, I was thinking about the topic today, being here for God. And I noticed that when I'm mostly in terms of seeing people, I see thoughts and ideas that people have, and I see emotion. But I really see the qualities of God, and I really attempt to see that. And I wanted to know, what does it mean to see non-dimensional reality or substance in people beyond the emotional level?
It means to discern spiritual qualities and spiritual values and inspired ideas. And in order to be able to see it in others, we have to be able to see it in ourselves. And the way to see it in ourselves is through commitment to living by these values, and then sincere interest in manifesting them in all the small details of daily life. And so it is called a commitment.
Commitment to seeing or manifesting them in yourself?
First of all, you commit yourself to maintain a mindfulness of the importance of this kind of mode, this mode of being in the world. Some people find it helpful when I explain to them that the way to be here for God is to preach love intelligence to the whole world, but without words. Go ye into all the world and preach love intelligence without words.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, Dr. Hora.
Yes?
This is Tammy.
Yes, Tammy.
I have a question about thought. I noticed recently that I have this idea that invalid thoughts that come into consciousness, into my consciousness, have power to do evil. And I know this isn't accurate. I'm taking some kind of personal credit for it, but I only have an intellectual basis. Can you help me?
Yes, well, they have power as long as you are interested in them.
No, the only power.
That's the only power they have. Unfortunately, most of us are interested in invalid thoughts because we have not yet outgrown our animality or humanity.
When an interest has been bent on some invalid thought, and there used to be a transmutation into experience or appearance,
Yes,
I think I go further with trying to blame myself and take the credit and brag that those evil thoughts, see what I did, and get stuck in that.
right, Tammy.
Can you help me see a better way when I observe this
Yes.
invalid thinking?
Yes. Well, you have to ask yourself, what is the meaning of the inclination to blame oneself? What do you think is the meaning of that?
I know that blame is boasting, it's bragging.
Right.
So I
And
just want to confirm my see how powerful I am.
yeah, and it indicates an unwillingness to face the fact that we are ignorant. You see? We are not blameworthy. We are not guilty. We are just ignorant. But vanity doesn't permit us to admit that. There is mental vanity rampant in the world, and people would prefer to be blamed than to be called ignorant.
Very helpful and very clear. Mental vanity.
Good.
Thank you, Dr. Hora.
Bye.
So when we recognize this fact, that we are animality or personal mind power thoughts.
Animality or humanness.
A humanness.
Right.
Who is recognizing that? Is that
Consciousness is conscious, and the soul recognizes it.
the soul recognizes?
Right.
It's not the person, but another aspect of the person.
Not likely, no. It's more likely that the soul is overlooking our thought processes and can know the difference between what is valid and invalid.
So the substance of the three R's, then you regret that, and then we already had that.
There.
That is the soul process.
I think this is the activity of the soul. The soul is also spoken of as the transcendent observer, which we all have. We have a built-in transcendent observer, which is watching. And so we can know whether our thoughts are valid or invalid. We can be aware. Even while we are asleep and dreaming, there is awake within us this soul which never sleeps nor slumbers.
There was this week somebody, I forgot who it was, reported a dream in which they were aware of and healed themselves of an anxiety. They could dream by thinking certain thoughts that were valid.
Yes. Yes, when you are imbued with the principles of metapsychiatry, you will find that you are aware even while you are dreaming in your sleep. You're aware of what is valid and invalid, and your ceaseless prayer is continuing even while you are asleep. Because ceaseless prayer is nothing else but constant monitoring of thoughts as to their existential validity.
So, is it right to say that the ego and the person never could observe the person? Because we wouldn't be interested in anything beyond the person.
I think that is a very safe deduction, yeah.
And so the process of the three R's, if we are aspiring to be here for God,
Right.
is a process that will automatically will take place then.
That's correct, yes. The closer we are to a realization that we are living souls hid with Christ in God, the more we find that the soul becomes increasingly active in our consciousness and is constantly monitoring our thought processes and correcting them. So the three R's can become an, so to speak, automatic process. You know, the airplanes have now automatic pilots, and ships have a gadget which keeps them on course all the time. I forgot how they call that gadget. And they just set it, and it maintains the right course regardless of winds and currents in the sea. And so maybe the soul has this function of watching over us.
This is Roberta.
Yes, Roberta.
This idea of soul is very interesting. I never heard of it this way. I thought of it this way, but I am aware that I have an inner observer telling me, "Oh, you shouldn't have said that. Maybe that wasn't right to do," or "regret what you just did," that kind of thing. And I know that in the course of the day, sometimes that guy isn't around very much, and some days he's around a lot.
Yeah.
And I'd like to understand that you said that the more aware we are, the more enlightened we are,
The more active it becomes.
more active it becomes.
Yes.
So if it's very active, see, I think if it's very active, maybe I'm sort of more off track.
Yeah.
Because maybe I need to shape up more.
Yes.
And so I don't quite understand that because it seems to come into play when I need correction. And I appreciate you clarifying that.
Now, Roberta, I have to warn you against confusing the activity of the soul or the Christ within us with the superego. The superego is an internalized system of values derived from human parentage. The soul is a spiritual consciousness present in all of us, reminding us of spiritual values. So let us make sure that we don't confuse the activities of the transcendent soul with the superego.
I appreciate that. I think I was referring to a reminder of spiritual value.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is I'm aware of when I'm off track with my spiritual values at different rates.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can go for quite a long time within the day,
Yeah.
and I'm not aware of that I'm being off, so to speak. Suddenly I'll say something or remember something, or something comes into my awareness,
Yeah.
and I suddenly say, remind myself, wait a minute, I'm here for God.
Right.
Spiritual beings, wait a minute, hold it. And I would just stop for a moment. This kind of mental activity or spiritual activity, perhaps, seems to occur when I need to, when I'm off track. And that's the conflict in my mind. If you said that you're aware of it all the time, if you are enlightened.
If you're interested in being enlightened. Enlightenment is a process where our interest brings us ever closer to Christhood, to the Christ consciousness. And this Christ consciousness, of course, replaces what most people have, namely a superego. Because the superego is just human values and beliefs which we have internalized. But this is Christly values and spiritual truth, a spiritual way of seeing and being. So it's very good what you describe, and it will grow on you, Roberta.
Yes, I've had that happen in dreams where things correct themselves. Right, suddenly say, "Wait a minute, you confront yourself."
Right, right.
And that has happened to me.
Yeah.
Is this my soul or soul? Could I say it's my soul or the reflection of my spiritual growth? Or
You could call it your soul.
all right, okay, all right. I was wondering if it's something that we all share.
Well, we are all joint participants in the infinite divine reality called one mind.
I see. So it's part of all one mind.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dr.
you're welcome.
Dr. Hora?
Yes?
This is Alexandra.
Yes, Alexandra.
We're talking about the inner observer and the super ego. And is the super ego what they mean in psychology, the inner parent with all the rules?
Yes, right. Yeah, I would say we could distinguish between the inner observer, which is the superego, and the transcendent observer, which is the soul.
And it's what Roberta was talking about, sometimes this awareness comes in and starts causing me to become aware of my thinking or whatever. And then sometimes I wonder, is this valid or is this that set of rules? And is there a way to differentiate?
Well, of course, Alexandra, the inner observer upholds at best moral value, at best. More often than not, it is even immoral and corrupt. But the transcendent observer is upholding the Christ in us, which is totally spiritual and consists of spiritual values and spiritual qualities and inspired ideas.
So it would be more of a knowing than a mental conversation. Is that true?
Well, of course, you can have the impression that you know what's right and what's wrong, because your mother said so, for instance. That is also knowing. But when it comes to spiritual consciousness, we speak of awareness. What is the difference between knowledge and awareness?
Knowledge is information.
Right. And it's intellectual, and it's theoretical, and it has no existential impact. Whereas awareness is a totally different way of knowing. It is knowing with the spirit.
Getting rich and winning at the racetrack and that sort of thing.
Yes.
What is the meaning of the ability to manifest these things?
It is still Alexandra S. talking?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
What is the meaning of manifesting personal mind power?
The substances that result in that, in practicing personal mind power.
Well, this is all part of an improving dream process. Most of us are just interested in improving our dreams. Winning at the racetrack, that is considered a good dream. But of course, in everything that is a dream is forever in danger of shifting into a bad dream. A good dream tends to become a bad dream sooner or later. They never last. Dreams are always changing. And the tendency is for good dreams to turn into bad dreams.
So this is all illusion.
Yes, of course.
What is the meaning of illusion?
It is the meaning of the illusion is that things seem to be, but they aren't. An illusion is something that seems to be, but it isn't. Material existence, with all its complexity, seems to be, but it isn't. Because reality is spiritual. And this remains to be realized.
Thank you, Dr. Horn. Very helpful.
Okay, Alexander.
Dr. Horn, this is Fern.
Yes, Fern.
Do you use the analogy of the automatic pilot?
Yeah.
Does the analogy follow that? I've heard that the automatic pilot is continually putting the plane on course. It never rests.
That's right.
The plane never stays straight.
Yeah, there are all sorts of currents constantly buffeting it from every side. Yeah.
And so, in the same way, the soul is never sleeping and is continually
Keeping us on course, right. And we are forever buffeted with all sorts of aggressive suggestions and seductions and provocations and intimidations, right?
right.
Until we wake up completely. Then we say with St. Paul, none of these things move me anymore.
So things like mental vanity or resentment or whatever are just, those are the aggressive suggestions.
That's right. Or the four horsemen, right?
Right.
and one thing and not one thing, and ambition. That's what unenlightened life consists of. The five gates of hell, etc.
Some suggestions seem much more interesting to us than others. Much more aggressively effective of capturing our attention. Is this just...
It's a matter of interest.
We just happen to be more interested in accomplishing something
Yeah.
with that particular suggestion.
As the popular saying goes, whatever turns you on, Fern.
So each of us have been uniquely miseducated about what turns us on, and we are very interested in those particular areas.
Yes, they are usually the troublemakers. That's what we suffer from. That's why the first principle of metapsychiatry is so very important, because it establishes the valid priority in life.
Lately, you have been speaking about the living soul,
Yeah,
and that the more aware of the living soul we are, then it becomes more active.
that's right.
How can we more effectively be receptive to the activity of the living soul in us?
By becoming increasingly interested in it. It is a very fantastic discovery, and it was in the Bible all the time. The soul is a living soul because it was never born, it never dies, it is dynamic life, and it is entirely apart from the dream of material existence. And that is our true identity. And in proportion that we become aware of ourselves as being living souls, in that proportion, we wake up from our dreams, whether they are good dreams or bad dreams. And this awakening is called a healing. For every healing is an awakening from the dream of life in matter. And if we are seeking to be healed of some problem, regardless of diagnostic label, it is important to become increasingly aware that we are living souls, perfect in every way and immortal, and therefore the problems which we are confronted with are dreams from which we need to be awakened. And this awakening happens in proportion that we catch glimpses of the truth that we are living souls, non-dimensional units of awareness. The living soul in metapsychiatric language can be spoken of as non-dimensional units of awareness.
It is the awakening of this living soul that is the work that goes on in metapsychiatric therapy.
Right.
Thank you, Doctor. Oh, where in the Bible does it make reference to the living soul?
You look it up.
I was hoping you'd give me a clue.
Just research it.
All right.
Dr. Hora, this is Michael.
Yes, Michael.
What's the difference between meditating on the 4Ws and the process of auto-suggestion?
Well, a process of autosuggestion is a process of putting oneself to sleep. Meditation is a process of awakening. So they are entirely contrary, Michael.
What is one doing in each situation? Is having the answer to who am I? And thinking about that seems to bring the idea that I already know what it means. If just going to the 4Ws by saying who am I, and that I'm the spiritual image and likeness of God, that sounds to me like a hypnosis, that I'm just telling myself something and I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, well, that's right, because you are just hypnotizing yourself with the pre-digested information. But in meditation, we seek to become aware of this truth, rather than just repeating words about it.
I think the secret of that would be willingness to recognize ignorance
That wouldn't hurt.
at midnight.
No.
I had a question that's similar that had to do with the idea of thinking that I'm tempted and recognizing that I'm tempted.
Yes.
That I think you were talking to Tammy about that earlier. The mental vanity is what prevents the transition from thinking to recognizing.
Yeah, that's possible, yes. But you have to understand what meditation is.
You clarified that one for me.
The aim of meditation is increasing clarity and awareness of the truth, not just fooling around and with information about the truth. You see, when you say God is love, Michael, but this is not the truth. This is just a statement about the truth. In order to really understand that God is love, you have to start glowing. And then you will be aware that God is love.
None of that is a personal activity.
That's right. It is,
Recognizing and the awareness is an activity in the soul.
yes, correct. So meditation is an action of the soul, where it's auto-hypnosis, imagination, visualization, are just forms of mental masturbation.
I got a question about how to get the soul in there to do it. How does that work?
That's an operational approach to enlightenment.
the transcendent observer, the awareness of the transcendent observer, could be characterized as it is aware of the totality of the phenomenal and material existence as being illusory.
Yes, right.
So it could never be done.
Yes,
But it would be an activity of the material world to do something.
right. Right.
It is something that maybe we need to develop a trust that will happen to us. I mean, that be the case?
Well, whatever you are sincerely interested in, to the point of commitment and practicing wholehearted attentiveness in that direction, will lead to a realization, yeah. And this realization is an event in consciousness, synonymous with grace, and it transforms your entire world. Because you gain a different perspective on reality.
Crucial is sincere interest and attentiveness.
Right. These are the basic requisites of effective meditation. Sincere interest and wholehearted attentiveness.
In a transcendent reality.
Yeah, that's right.
To move beyond any phenomenal reality.
Yes,
Appearance.
right. Yes, pornography is out.
Dr. Hora, this is Elizabeth.
Yes, Elizabeth.
On the human level, I seem to be troubled a lot with fear
Yes,
of kind. And recently I've been meditating on the very perfect love casts out fear.
yes.
Could you help me to understand how that is, the perfect love casts out fear, and what that really means?
Well, that's very simple, Elizabeth. Perfect love is selfless love. And fear is self-concern. Can you see?
Yes.
When your love is selfless, there's no possibility of fear. And if there is fear, it is self-concern, and there is no possibility of real love.
What is selfless love?
Selfless love is divine love flowing through you. We call it glowing.
Is it possible to be healed once and for all of fear, or is that a moment by moment process?
Well, it all depends on your interest in glowing, Elizabeth. If you are sincerely committed to glowing, you will never be afraid. You have my prayer of glowing?
Yes, I have been meditating on that.
Well, that can help you rid you of fear, because the love of my love glows, which means divine love shines forth in my being. And that, of course, frees you of fear. Just keep in mind that fear is nothing else but self-concern. It is a self-confirmatory experience.
That removes the power from it, doesn't it?
Of course.
Thank you, Dr. Hora.
You're welcome, Elizabeth.
Dr. Hora, this was Alexandra again.
Yes, Alexandra.
You said that the living soul is non-dimensional units of awareness.
Yes.
And it seems to me that awareness gets through when a person reaches a place in their life where they say, this doesn't work anymore, there must be more. And that might be an opportunity for this awareness to make itself known.
Yes, right.
But I would like to understand what finally happens or doesn't happen in a person's life to reach this place. Because there are some people who would prefer to continue on in their misery and never make the awareness available, or never make an opening for it.
Yes. The mission of Jesus Christ was to bring to our attention the possibility of awakening. Now, people who have never heard of Jesus Christ or the teachings of Jesus or of the other spiritual luminaries in history, they just go on and they don't even suspect that there is a possibility of awakening. And that's how it is that so many people live in darkness. The Bible says, the harvest truly is plenteous, but laborers are few. Do you understand this passage?
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's very clear to me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Hora, this is Michael.
Yes, Michael.
This activity of awakening,
Yes.
isn't that even a person can initiate that, correct?
Well, it's not the person who initiates it, it is suffering that initiates it. And hopefully then wisdom takes over. But it's usually suffering that initiates.
Well, in Alexandra's question, the people that live a life of suffering and are never prompted to consider that there's something else.
Yes.
How is it that one individual gets the idea and another one doesn't?
Well,
Stop playing the fiddle.
yes, well, some individual opens up the Bible, goes into a motel with his girlfriend, and has a bad experience, and reaches into the drawer and discovers there is a Bible there. And in a moment, he becomes informed that this miserable condition doesn't have to be. And there are many ways that the Christ can reach us, but unfortunately not everybody is receptive. And you remember the biblical passage which says, to them that received him gave he the power to be the sons of God, even to them that believed on his name. And what about all the others, right?
All the others?
all the others who didn't receive him, and the millions who are not receiving him today. Of course, there are other messengers of God too, throughout the world.
Dr. Hora, this is Nancy.
Yes, Nancy.
I have a question. They went to Alexandria about knowing with the spirit. What does that mean?
Knowing with the Spirit, it is synonymous with understanding or realizing, Nancy.
It can't be done personally.
No, it's by grace.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, Dr. Hora,
Yes?
this is Janine Carl.
Yes, Janine.
Hi. In the clip with conversations and comments, this is here in this sound came to my mind, and I wonder if you can give me your interpretation of that. It seems like suffering played a great role in the activity of awareness. And David, when his eyes were stayed upon the Lord and he had peace and so on, his mind was stayed upon the Lord, then he got involved with Bathsheba and so on. And then when you realize by awareness through the suffering, he said that to God, in your faithfulness, you have afflicted me. But you can give a little bit more on that?
Yes. Well, you see, there are certain passages in the Old Testament which are not quite correct. In your faithfulness you have afflicted me would be better if it said, in my unfaithfulness I have brought affliction upon myself.
Well, those are the things that we invite into our life.
Right.
That's the awareness
Right.
opportunity.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have to say goodbye. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Jan.
Okay, bye now.